My next guest is also one of those 10 Republicans. Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger joins me now. He also serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
Yep.
So we're coming up on 3 weeks since a violent assault on the Capitol, an insurrection, really. And in that time, even many of your fellow Republicans who criticized the president's role early on, for instance, Kevin McCarthy said that the president bears responsibility, backtracking on those comments. Marco Rubio on the Senate side, who criticized the president's involvement, now calling a Senate trial stupid, in his words. I wonder, as you're seeing that backtracking, despite his loss in the White House and losing the Senate, is this still, the Republican Party, still the party of Trump?
You know, I think in a few months we're going to know. It's kind of hard to see it in the fog of where we are now. You know, we're just coming out of this election, everything that's going on, that went on. I think in a few months we're going to see where this goes. Look, every day that goes by, there are less and less people that would consider themselves Trump Republicans, you know, as the emotion wears off. So I think in 6 months, it's not going to be necessarily the party of Donald Trump. But this is the whole point, is I do think we are in a battle, and it may be a battle that really needs to happen for our party to say, what is it we stand for? Not when it comes to policy, but as much as anything, are we aspirational, or are we a party that feeds on fear and division?
A big test of that will come with the vote on Liz Cheney's position in the Republican leadership. And you got into a public spat yesterday via Twitter with Ohio Republican Congressman Warren Davidson on her leadership. And I'm going to quote one of your tweets here in particular. You say, happy to discuss and vote on everyone's role in this and from the top down. Liz didn't attack the Capitol and needs not defend herself. Those like you who sold a lie do. On that point, just to be clear, are you accusing Davidson and others who bought in and still buy into that big lie that the election was stolen, that they bear direct responsibility for helping to incite that insurrection?
Well, look, the only ones that bear direct responsibility are those that did it, but they bear responsibility for this narrative. That's the key. And, you know, we have to, as a party, come to real terms with what was our role. So for 4 years, and especially in the last year, we heard QAnon-type conspiracy theories, and I did a video a year ago on QAnon to expose it, and people are like, oh, you got to stay away from that, right? That's, you know, but we played a role in that, because when you sit around and you accept the idea that the election was stolen, because A, it's going to be easier to tell people that that's the case, so I don't have to have that uncomfortable conversation, and B, maybe it'll try to keep somehow that energy that we need to get 51%. You bear responsibility, especially if you spread that.
We've learned just now that Matt Gaetz, fellow congressman, who has also taken the side against Liz Cheney, he's going to actually go to Wyoming and campaign against her. You and he were getting into it on Twitter as well. I wonder, does Liz Cheney have the votes to remain in leadership, or is her leadership in danger, in your view?
Well, I think she does. I think she'll survive. And, you know, you look at, maybe there were 10 of us that voted to impeach. I think there were well over a majority of Republicans that, had it been secret ballot, would have voted for it. Look, they all have their own reasons. I don't blame anybody for how they vote. But here's the bottom line question. Liz Cheney showed a vote of conscience, right? There is nobody that took the vote to impeach that was easy for. And are we really going to punish somebody for getting somewhat out of the whatever you think the Donald Trump party is today?
Yeah. Listen, I've talked to fellow Republicans who told me directly they voted against impeachment because they would lose their primaries. I mean, they say it right out. I want to ask about Kevin McCarthy, because Kevin McCarthy, listen, he's flip-flopped. He said the president bore responsibility for this, took a lot of grief for it. Now he says everybody's responsible and is changing his tune. Does McCarthy belong in GOP leadership?
So, look, I like Kevin a lot, but I think if we're going to open up this can of who belongs in leadership and have the debate that some in the Freedom Club want to have, I think it's only fair to have the conversation from the top down, to have a discussion about, okay, what is the leadership of this party? And look, you know, if you're a leader of the Republican Party right now, you need to be focused on one thing, not winning another election. That's not what we should be focused on right now. What we should be focused on is restoring the integrity of this party, because I get it. The Democrats don't have integrity in certain areas, too. Our job is to take care of ourselves, to lead the people the best we can. And we have sat here in this country just pointing sides at each other and saying, well, at least we're not as bad as them. And the other side says the same thing. and nothing gets done. We need cool, calm, steady leadership to get through this crisis.
If the party remains Trump's party, in effect throws its lot in with him again, makes that calculation, they can't win these races in these House districts beyond without Trump, do you stay in the party or do you say, enough, I'm out?
I don't know. And I think that's where, look, the party I fell in love with sounds kind of corny, but when I was a kid, you know, and I loved the ideas of the Republican Party, I feel like we've lost a lot of that now. And that's why I'm going to fight like hell to bring it back to the party that I believe in. And, you know, that a kid born in the inner city should have the same opportunity as a kid born in Highland Park, Illinois. That's what conservatism is, not all this other anger and division. We stay an angry, divisive party, it'll be hard to consider the Republican Party home. But my values won't have changed. It will have been the party's values.
Well, Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thanks so much for taking the time this morning. We appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.